Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're getting into something absolutely wild. We're diving straight into a really high-stakes story about professional survival, pulling directly from our source material. But as you'll see pretty quickly, this isn't just a story about keeping your cool. It's actually a brilliantly engineered blueprint that reveals the hidden mechanics of internet virality. So let's jump right in.
Picture this scene with me, okay? It's 7:52 a.m. on a freezing cold Tuesday in February. Our author is sitting in their home office and their thumb is literally hovering over the blue reply button on their phone. Hanging by an absolute thread right in that moment is a massive 11,000 pounds in contractual revenue. That one single client represents a third of their overhead for the entire year. And one press of that button, poof, the money vanishes.
So, what actually caused this 7:52 a.m. ambush? It was a one-word email. No greeting, no sign-off. Just the word, disappointing. The author tells us that an involuntary, surgical counterattack instantly formed in their mind. You know the kind, a watertight, legally flawless, totally bridge-burning reply. It's exactly the kind of email you write when you want to completely win an argument, knowing full well you're going to vaporize a multi-year professional relationship in the process.
Now you might be wondering, what stopped their thumb from hitting send and throwing away 11 grand? Well, it wasn't professional maturity, and honestly, it wasn't even financial terror. It was a faded, dusty, bright yellow Post-it note stuck right to the bottom of their monitor, and it just had 6 hurriedly written words on it. The knock isn't the door. We're going to leave the exact meaning of that a mystery for just a second, but keep it in the back of your mind, because this phrase, it's literally the key to the whole shebang.
What's really fascinating here is how all of this validates what we actually experience in a moment of crisis. I mean, we've all been there, right? The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote about this exact thing 2,000 years ago. He called them first movements. When you get that passive-aggressive email, your chest tightens up, heat rises up your neck. That is the flinch. It's a completely involuntary biological reflex. It is the knock. The signature, on the other hand, is the conscious choice you make to actually open the door and react.
Listen, the absolutely crucial point here is that this initial jolt, it isn't true anger. Our source points out this massive flaw in modern mindfulness and corporate coaching, which constantly tries to tell us that enlightened professionals simply don't get angry. That is just a lie. You don't choose to flinch any more than you choose to blink when a pebble hits your windshield. True anger only arrives when your rational mind agrees with that physical flinch and literally signs its name to the reaction.
So, to figure out how to master this gap between the flinch and the reaction, we turn to a pretty unlikely hero, Epictetus. He was a crippled, penniless former slave from the 1st century who lived in a rented room with absolutely nothing but a clay lamp and a straw mat. Yet this guy wrote the ultimate guide to psychological defiance. It's a manual that has outsold and outlived literally every modern, highly paid executive coach around today.
This beautifully illustrates Epictetus' core philosophy, which is the dichotomy of control. On one hand, things like our opinions, our desires, our actions, those are entirely up to us. But on the other hand, a reputation, a client's terrible early morning mood, the weather, those are totally not up to us. The exact moment you tie your internal peace to an external event, like a petty one-word email at 7:52 a.m., you are literally handing the keys of your life over to a total stranger.
This really captures the raw, unfiltered power of authentic ancient Stoicism. I mean, Epictetus literally had his leg broken by a brutal master. He couldn't even choose his physical circumstances, but he completely mastered his mind. And he did it without needing a single modern luxury. He recognized that while the world is inevitably going to hand you terrible circumstances, your judgment about those circumstances, that remains entirely your own property. Now contrast that ancient wisdom with what our source hilariously dubs broism. You guys have definitely seen this online, right? The 4 a.m. alarms, the agonizing ice-cold plunges, the super expensive leather-bound journals. It's this hypermasculine, monetized caricature of Stoicism. The author notes that the real Stoics gave this philosophy away for free on dirt floors. But today, we're paying massive premiums to be taught a commoditized, superficial version of a problem a penniless man solved 20 centuries ago. It's basically disciplined cosplay.
All right, let's get practical and see how this actually works. The space between the external event and your internal reaction is what the author calls the flinch gap. And here's the good news, it's a dynamic muscle. You don't have to be some naturally serene monk, you just have to train it. The source outlines these 4 daily reps to actively train and widen this muscle, so it's ready to go when your revenue is actually on the line.
Let's look at Rep 1. And hey, this finally resolves our Post-it note mystery.
The knock is in the door simply means that when that biological jolt hits you, you must silently name the stimulus. You literally just say to yourself, that is the knock. By simply labeling the sensation, you create this microscopic hairline fracture of space between the burning heat in your chest and the physical movement of your hand. You acknowledge the knock, but you totally retain ownership of the door.
Moving on to Rep 2, we have the morning loss run, or as the Stoics called it, premeditatio malorum. Before you even crack open your laptop for the day, spend 2 minutes simulating what will probably go wrong. The train will be delayed, a client's going to be cold. Notice that this isn't pessimism, okay? It's psychological inoculation, because a disaster that you mentally shake hands with at 7 a.m. absolutely cannot ambush you at 2 p.m. You completely strip away its primary weapon, which is surprise.
The final 2 reps kind of lock the whole thing in. In the morning, you do a 2-column cleanse. Just write down what you control and consciously leave all that external dread on the paper. Then, you do a nightly audit. Right before sleep, review your day like a totally dispassionate scientist, not a harsh judge. Just ask yourself, where did the first movement trick me into an action today? You aren't building shame here. You're simply building a slightly better tomorrow by looking at the data.
So let's bounce back to that crazy morning. Did they send the bridge-burning email? Nope. By relying on that flinch gap, the author paused for 4 excruciating minutes, walked away, and then just sent a really calm, boring 3-sentence reply asking for clarification. And you know what happened? It led to a 90-second phone call. Turns out, the client was actually disappointed at an external supplier's deadline, not the author's work. No way, right? That entire $11,000 contract was saved solely by that half-second of restraint.
Okay, hold on to your hats because the source material reveals a brilliant meta-twist right here. Let's pull back the curtain. That incredible philosophical narrative we just explored together, it turns out it's actually a meticulously engineered blueprint for a viral post. The author designed every single sentence, every hook, and every emotion to perfectly satisfy both human psychology and search engine algorithms. It is literally a masterpiece of content architecture.
Because look, virality is never an accident. The piece deliberately balances emotional psychology with technical SEO. Take the high arousal hook. It yanks the reader from the high anxiety of losing 11,000 pounds straight into the awe of ancient wisdom. It provides social currency too, because sharing a deep dive on Stoicism makes the person sharing it look really smart to their friends. And structurally, it uses deep scannability to retain busy readers who would normally just skip past a giant wall of text.
You also have to check out this deliberate credentialism inversion technique they used. To hook a modern reader, the author purposely juxtaposes a broke, ancient slave right up against a highly paid modern corporate coach. It's such an irresistible narrative lever. It creates this psychological anchor, suggesting that the free, historical wisdom is vastly superior to the commoditized, expensive modern version. It's entirely designed to make you click and keep reading.
And the source goes even deeper into the engagement layer. Like, why did you care so much about that post-it note earlier? That's the Zeigarnik effect, a strategic open loop that keeps you hooked until the mystery is solved. The author also uses shame-free reframing, telling you are not weak for flinching. That lowers your defensiveness and drives a super deep connection. They even pick fights with broicism, specifically to create healthy, algorithm-boosting controversy in the comments section. Brilliant.
We're going to wrap up with this incredibly powerful takeaway. We've just dismantled both the architecture of professional composure and the hidden architecture of the media we consume every day. The flinch gap is real, guys, whether you're managing a massive professional crisis or just reading an article designed to grab your attention. So the big question we have to ask ourselves today is, now that we know exactly how the door works, what will you do the next time you hear the knock?